The courtroom was tense, filled with murmurs and uneasy glances. The judge adjusted his glasses, looking over the case files one more time. A young boy, no older than 10, sat quietly in the witness chair, his small hands gripping the edges of his seat. His eyes were wide, not with fear, but with something else, determination. The case had dragged on for weeks, a messy custody battle between two parents who couldn't agree on anything. The boy had been caught in the middle, shuffled between homes, listening to arguments, promises, and lies. The court had heard from lawyers, psychologists, even relatives, but no one had asked him what he wanted. Until today. The judge leaned forward. "Son, do you understand why you're here?" The boy nodded. "You have the right to speak if you wish. The court wants to know what you think is best for you." For a moment, the room was silent. Then, the boy took a deep breath and spoke, his voice soft but clear. What he said next left everyone stunned. The boy didn't talk about which parent he loved more. He didn't beg to stay with one or the other. Instead, he told a story, one no one had expected. "Last year," he began, "my teacher gave us an assignment. We had to write about our families." He paused, his fingers fidgeting slightly. "I didn't know what to write because my family wasn't like the others." The parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The lawyers exchanged glances. The boy continued. "I wrote about my dad taking me to the park and my mom teaching me how to bake cookies. But when I read it out loud, my friend asked me why I didn't mention the fights." A heavy silence settled over the courtroom. "I told him it wasn't important," the boy said. "But then he said something I never forgot. He said, if you don't talk about the bad stuff, the good stuff doesn't mean anything." The judge's expression softened. "And what do you think that means?" The boy looked down for a second, then met the judge's gaze. "I think they both love me. But love isn't enough if it's always yelling and crying. I don't want to pick one. I want both of them to be happy, even if it's not with each other." The parents' eyes filled with tears. The lawyers stopped writing. For the first time in the entire trial, the room wasn't thinking about legal arguments or winning, they were thinking about the small boy who had just spoken a truth no one else had dared to say. A heavy silence hung in the courtroom after the boy's words. The parents, sitting on opposite sides of the room, both looked down, the mother clutching a tissue in her hands, the father rubbing his forehead as if trying to erase a headache. The lawyers, usually quick to argue, stayed quiet. Even the judge took a moment before speaking again. The boy sat still, his small frame almost swallowed by the big witness chair. He wasn't crying. He wasn't angry. He just looked tired. Like he had carried something heavy for too long and finally put it down. The judge cleared his throat. "That was very brave of you, son." His voice was softer now, less formal. "Is there anything else you'd like to say?" The boy hesitated, then nodded. "I have a drawing." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, slightly crumpled from being held too tightly. The bailiff stepped forward, took it gently, and handed it to the judge. The judge unfolded it carefully. It was a child's drawing, stick figures with two big smiles, a house, a sun in the corner. But when the judge looked closer, he noticed something odd. The stick figures weren't together. The mom was on one side of the page, the dad on the other, and the boy was in the middle, but he wasn't holding either of their hands. He was just standing there, alone. At the bottom, in uneven letters, the boy had written, "This is my family when they forget to listen." The judge's face changed. He looked at the parents, then back at the boy. "Do they forget to listen often?" The boy shrugged. "They ask me what I want. But when I try to tell them, they just get mad. Or sad. So I stopped saying it." The mother let out a quiet sob, covering her mouth. The father's jaw tightened, his eyes glistening. The judge leaned forward. What is it you've been trying to tell them? The boy took a deep breath, his voice barely above a whisper. That I miss how it used to be, when we were all happy. Even if we weren't perfect. Outside the courtroom, the hallway was packed with reporters and curious onlookers. No one had expected this case to take such a turn. Most custody battles were about schedules and rules, not a child's quiet plea for his parents to just hear him. Inside, the judge made a decision. We're going to take a short recess, he announced. Then, to everyone's surprise, he added, I'd like to speak with the parents. Alone. The bailiff escorted the boy to a small room nearby while the parents were led into the judge's chambers. No lawyers. No arguments. Just the three of them, the judge, the mother, and the father. The judge didn't sit behind his desk. Instead, he stood in front of them, holding the boy's drawing. Do you understand what he's trying to tell you? He asked quietly. The mother wiped her eyes. We never meant to hurt him. The father crossed his arms, but his voice cracked. We just couldn't agree on anything. The judge sighed. This isn't about who's right or wrong anymore. It's about what he needs. He held up the drawing. He doesn't want to choose between you. He wants you to choose him, to put him first, even if it means setting aside your differences. For the first time in years, the parents looked at each other, not with anger, but with something like regret. The judge's chambers were quiet, too quiet. The parents sat across from each other, the boy's drawing placed carefully on the table between them. The mother traced the edge of the paper with her finger, her throat tight. The father stared at his hands, his shoulders slumped like the weight of the world had finally caught up to him. The judge didn't rush them. He let the silence stretch, knowing some things couldn't be forced. Finally, the father spoke, his voice rough. I didn't realize. I thought if I fought hard enough, I could fix everything. The mother let out a shaky breath. I thought the same thing. But every time we argued, he was listening. And we never even noticed. The judge nodded. Kids see more than we think. They just don't always have the words to say it. He paused. But your son found his words today. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The parents looked at each other again, but this time, something was different. The anger was gone. In its place was something sadder, but also softer, understanding. Meanwhile, the boy sat in the small waiting room, swinging his legs nervously. A kind court officer had given him a juice box and a coloring book, but he wasn't really paying attention. His mind was still back in the courtroom, replaying the moment he had finally said what he'd been holding inside for so long. Did they even hear me? He wondered. Or will they just go back to fighting again? The door creaked open, and the bailiff peeked in. Hey, kiddo. They're ready for you. The boy's stomach twisted, but he stood up and followed the bailiff back to the courtroom. When he walked in, he saw his parents sitting together, not side by side, but closer than before. The judge was waiting, his expression unreadable. The boy climbed back into the witness chair, his heart pounding. The judge folded his hands. Your parents and I had a talk, he said. And we've come up with an idea. But we want to hear what you think about it first. The boy blinked. No one had ever asked his opinion like this, not just for show, but really asked. The judge continued. What if, instead of living with just one parent, you spent equal time with both? No more arguments. No more broken promises. Just a fair schedule where you get to be with each of them, without feeling torn in the middle. The boy's eyes widened. You mean? I wouldn't have to choose. The judge shook his head. No. You wouldn't. The mother leaned forward. And we'd both be there for your school events, your games, everything. No more missing out because of us. The father added, his voice quieter, and no more fighting. We promise. The boy looked down at his hands, his chest feeling strangely light. For the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful. But, the judge said gently, there's one condition. The boy looked up. The condition is that you tell us if it's not working. If you ever feel like you're being pulled in two directions again, you speak up. No more hiding how you feel. Can you do that? The boy hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yeah. I can do that. The judge smiled. Good. Then we'll make it official. Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining as the three of them walked out together, not as a family living under one roof, but as a family that had finally started to listen. The boy stood between his parents, looking up at them. So, does this mean we can get ice cream? The mother laughed, wiping her eyes. Yes. Ice cream sounds perfect. The father ruffled the boy's hair. And maybe no more courtrooms for a while, huh? The boy grinned. Deal. The first week of the new arrangement was strange. The boy kept waiting for something to go wrong, for his parents to start arguing again, for one of them to cancel plans last minute like before. But it didn't happen. On Monday, his dad picked him up from school right on time, just like the schedule said. On Wednesday, his mom helped him with his homework without complaining about how his dad never teaches him properly. And when Saturday came, something even more surprising happened. They both showed up to his soccer game. Not on opposite sides of the field like before. Not ignoring each other. They sat together in the bleachers, and when he scored his first goal of the season, he heard them cheer, together. After the game, his mom handed him a water bottle while his dad clapped him on the back. Great job out there, champ. The boy took a long drink, catching his breath. You guys, you actually came. His mom's smile faltered for just a second. Of course we did. We said we would. His dad cleared his throat. And we will keep coming. To everything. The boy nodded, but part of him still wondered, how long will this last? That night at his dad's apartment, as they ate pizza and watched a movie, the boy finally asked the question that had been bothering him. Dad, are you and Mom still mad at each other? His father paused the movie and turned to face him. We're not mad, son. We couldn't figure out how to be happy together anymore. But that doesn't mean we can't be good parents to you. The boy picked at the crust of his pizza. But why couldn't you just try harder? His dad sighed, running a hand through his hair. Sometimes, trying harder isn't the answer. Sometimes you have to try different. That's what we're doing now. The boy thought about this. It made sense, but it still hurt. I just miss how it used to be. His dad pulled him close. I know, buddy. I know. The next morning, his mom came to pick him up for their scheduled day together. When the boy opened the door, he saw something unexpected, his parents talking calmly on the doorstep. No raised voices. No tension. Just, talking. Ready to go? His mom asked, smiling. As they walked to the car, the boy couldn't help but ask. What were you and Dad talking about? His mom buckled her seatbelt before answering. Just making sure we're on the same page about your science project next week. She glanced at him. Is that okay? The boy nodded slowly. It was more than okay. It was what he'd wanted all along, for them to talk, not fight. At school that week, his teacher pulled him aside during recess. I heard about what happened in court, she said gently. Are you doing all right? The boy shrugged. It's better now, I think. His teacher smiled. You were very brave to speak up like that. Most adults never learn how to say what they really feel. The boy thought about this as he went back to playing with his friends. Maybe that's why his parents had so much trouble, they never learned how to say what they really felt either. The test came sooner than anyone expected. On Thursday morning, the boy woke up with a pounding headache and a fever that made his skin feel like fire. His mother pressed her hand to his forehead and immediately reached for the phone. "It's my day with him," she told his father over the phone, voice tense. "I'll handle this." A pause. Then, "No, I don't need help. Just stick to the schedule." The boy curled tighter under his blankets, the familiar ache in his chest returning. This was how it always started, one small thing, then the arguing, then the broken promises. But then something different happened. His mother took a deep breath. "Actually, you're right. He might want you here too." An hour later, both parents were in the living room, his mother making tea, his father digging through the medicine cabinet. No yelling. No, "I told you so," about forgotten doctor's appointments. Just quiet cooperation. The boy watched through half-closed eyes as his father felt his forehead. "Definitely a fever. We should call Dr. Patel." His mother nodded, handing him the phone. "You have his number saved, right?" A simple question. A year ago, it might have started a fight about who was more organized. Today, his father just said, "Yeah, got it," and made the call. At the doctor's office, the boy sat between his parents, shivering under a blanket. Dr. Patel raised an eyebrow when he saw them together. "Well, this is new." "Strep throat," the doctor confirmed after the examination. "He'll need antibiotics and rest. No school for a few days." The parents exchanged glances, not angry ones, but thoughtful. The mother spoke first. "Maybe we should adjust the schedule this week." The father nodded. "Your apartment is closer to the pharmacy. He can stay with you, and I'll come by after work." The boy's breath caught. They were compromising. Actually compromising. That night, as his mother tucked him in, the boy whispered, "You and Dad didn't fight today." She smoothed his hair back. "No, we didn't." "Why?" His mother hesitated, then smiled. "Because you were brave enough to tell the truth in that courtroom. The least we can do is try to be brave too." The next few days passed in a feverish haze, but with both parents checking in, bringing soup, taking turns reading to him, the boy realized something: this was what he'd wanted all along. Not for them to be together again. Just for them to be there for him. Together or not. On Sunday evening, his fever broke. As he sat at the kitchen table coloring, he overheard his parents talking quietly in the living room. "We're actually doing okay at this," his father said. His mother laughed softly. "Don't sound so surprised." A pause. Then his father's voice, quieter, "We should tell him." "Tell him what?" The boy's crayon froze mid-stroke. The boy's stomach dropped at his father's words. "Tell him what?" His hands gripped the edge of the table as he strained to hear more, but their voices had dropped to murmurs. The crayon in his hand snapped in half without him realizing. His mother noticed him first. "Sweetheart. You're supposed to be resting." She rushed over, pressing a hand to his forehead. "Fever's gone, but you still look pale." The boy swallowed hard. "What were you and Dad talking about?" His parents exchanged one of those grown-up looks he hated, the kind that meant they were deciding how much to say. His father crouched down beside him. "We were just discussing how things have been going," he said carefully. "And we think it's time we all sat down together for a proper family meeting." A family meeting? The boy's voice came out smaller than he intended. The last time they'd had a family meeting, it was to tell him they were getting divorced. His mother must have seen the panic in his eyes because she quickly added, "Nothing bad. Actually, we think you'll like this." She smoothed his hair. "But let's wait until you're feeling stronger, okay?" The boy wanted to argue, wanted to demand they tell him now, but the exhaustion from being sick still weighed heavy on his bones. He nodded reluctantly. 2 days later, back at his father's apartment, the promised family meeting finally happened. They ordered his favorite pizza, pepperoni with extra cheese, which he knew was their way of buttering him up for something big. His parents sat across from him at the small kitchen table. His mother took a deep breath. "So, your father and I have been talking a lot these past few weeks." His father jumped in. "And we realized something important. Even though we're not married anymore, we're still a family. Just, a different kind of family." The boy's pulse quickened. Where was this going? His mother reached into her purse and pulled out a colorful brochure. "We've signed up for family counseling. All three of us." The boy blinked. "Like, therapy?" "Kind of," his father said. "It's a special counselor who helps families like ours learn how to communicate better. How to make this new situation work for everyone." His mother slid the brochure across the table. There were smiling cartoon families on the front. "We thought, maybe you'd have things you want to say that are hard to say to just us. This way, you'll have someone to help you say them." The boy stared at the brochure, his chest feeling strangely tight. They were doing this, for him? Because of what he'd said in court? His father continued, voice uncharacteristically soft. "And we want you to know, no matter what happens between me and your mom, we both love you more than anything. That will never change." The boy's vision blurred with unexpected tears. He quickly wiped his eyes with his sleeve, embarrassed. "So, we're still a family?" His mother reached across the table to squeeze his hand. "Always." The first counseling session was awkward. The office smelled like lavender and old books, and the therapist, a kind-faced woman named Linda, asked questions that made everyone fidget at first. "What's one thing you wish the others understood about you?" The boy, sandwiched between his parents on a too-soft couch, surprised himself by being the first to answer. "I wish they knew I don't blame them for the divorce." His mother's breath hitched. His father's hand, resting on the couch, twitched like he wanted to reach for something. Linda smiled gently. "That's very mature of you. Parents? What do you wish your son understood?" His father spoke first, voice rough. "That just because your mom and I couldn't make our marriage work, it doesn't mean we failed as parents." His mother added, quieter, "and that we're still learning how to do this right." By the end of the session, the boy realized something. For the first time in years, they were all really listening to each other. Not waiting for their turn to talk. Not preparing arguments. Just, listening. Walking out to the parking lot afterward, the boy found himself walking between them, their steps naturally falling into sync. His father ruffled his hair. "You hungry?" "I was thinking burgers." His mother didn't argue about junk food like she usually would. She just smiled. "Burgers sound perfect." The boy grinned, swinging his arms as they walked. Maybe, just maybe, this weird new version of his family could work after all. The counseling sessions became their new normal. Every Thursday after school, the three of them would sit in Linda's cozy office with its too-soft couch and bowl of peppermints. At first, the boy only spoke when directly asked questions, but week by week, he found his voice growing stronger. Then came the day everything nearly fell apart again. It started with a missed phone call. The boy's father was supposed to pick him up from soccer practice, but when all the other kids had left and the field lights came on, he still hadn't shown. The boy sat on the bleachers, kicking his cleats against the metal frame. His phone showed 3 unanswered calls to his dad. That familiar sick feeling started creeping back into his stomach, the one he hadn't felt in weeks. Just as his lower lip began to tremble, his mother's car screeched into the parking lot. She jumped out, still wearing her work clothes. "I'm so sorry. Your father's stuck in traffic, there was an accident on the highway." The boy stood up slowly. "You came." "Of course I came." His mother's face softened. "Did you think we'd just leave you here?" The boy shrugged, suddenly embarrassed. That's exactly what he'd thought. When they got home, his father was already there, pacing the kitchen. "Thank God," he breathed when they walked in. He turned to the boy. "I tried calling but my phone died, and then the traffic was." "It's okay," the boy interrupted. "Mom got me." An awkward silence fell. His parents exchanged one of those looks he'd come to recognize, the kind that meant they were having a whole conversation without words. His father knelt down. "It's not okay. I promised I'd be there and I wasn't." That must have felt like before, the boy finished quietly. His father's face crumpled. "Yeah. Like before." At their next counseling session, Linda had them play a game called The Do-Over. "Imagine you could rewind that moment at the soccer field," she said. "How could it have gone differently?" The boy thought hard. Dad could have texted Mom when his phone was dying. His father nodded. "And I should have your coach's number as backup. Maybe we need a family calendar app," his mother added, "where we can all see the schedule and get alerts." Linda smiled. "These are all great solutions. The important thing is you're problem-solving together now, instead of just getting angry." The boy fiddled with a loose thread on the couch. "But what if we mess up again?" Linda's voice was gentle. "You will. All families do. What matters is what happens after." Later that week, the boy came home from school to find his parents sitting at the kitchen table with papers spread everywhere. At first, his heart stopped. It looked like the old days when they'd argue about bills and custody papers. But then his mother waved him over. "Come help us decide about summer vacation." The boy blinked. "Vacation?" His father grinned. "We're thinking about renting a cabin for a week. All three of us." The boy's mouth fell open. They hadn't taken a family vacation since before the divorce. "Really?" His mother squeezed his shoulder. "We won't pretend everything's perfect. But we're still your parents, and we both want to make memories with you." That night, as the boy lay in bed, he realized something surprising. He wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop anymore. His parents weren't perfect, but they were trying. Really trying. And for now, that was enough. The cabin smelled like pine needles and would smoke when they first arrived. The boy stood in the doorway, backpack still slung over one shoulder, taking in the cozy main room with its stone fireplace and worn leather couch. It looked nothing like their old family vacations, no fancy resorts, no strict itineraries, just this quiet little house in the woods. His mother bumped his shoulder playfully. "What do you think?" The boy hesitated. "It's different." His father chuckled as he carried in their bags. "Different good or different bad?" The boy thought about it as he explored. The twin beds in his room instead of one big one. The way his parents moved around each other in the small kitchen, careful, but not tense. Just different, he decided. The first 2 days were perfect. They hiked to a waterfall, roasted marshmallows, played card games at the rickety kitchen table. The boy caught himself laughing so hard his stomach hurt when his parents tried to outdo each other with scary campfire stories. His mother's were always funny, his father's always ridiculous. Then on the third night, the storm hit. The boy woke to thunder shaking the cabin walls. Rain lashed against the windows like handfuls of thrown pebbles. For a terrifying moment, he was back in that courtroom, listening to his parents' voices rise like thunder. A knock at his door. "You awake?" His father's voice. The door creaked open, revealing both parents silhouetted in the hallway light. His mother held a flashlight. "Power's out," she said. "We're building a fort in the living room. Want to join?" The boy's racing heart slowed. This wasn't like before. This was something new. By flashlight glow, they dragged every blanket and pillow into the living room, constructing an elaborate nest in front of the fireplace. His father got a fire going while his mother made camping cocoa on the gas stove. Crushed together in their blanket fort, the boy between them, they told stories as the storm raged outside. Not scary ones this time, stories from when the boy was little. His first steps, mother swore he ran before he walked, his first word, light, according to father, the time he covered himself head to toe in finger paint, they both had photographic evidence. The boy listened, sipping his cocoa, warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the fire. This was what he'd been missing, not the perfect family, but these moments where the love outshone everything else. On their last morning, the boy woke early. He found his father drinking coffee on the porch, watching the sunrise paint the lake pink. "Where's Mom?" the boy asked, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Still asleep." His father smiled. "You know she's never been a morning person." The boy sat beside him, swinging his legs. The wooden planks were cool under his bare feet. "Dad? Do you think we'll do this again next year?" His father set down his mug. "Do you want to?" The boy thought about the storm, the fort, the way they'd all laughed so easily. "Yeah. I really do." His father's arm wrapped around his shoulders. "Then we'll make it happen." As they packed the car to leave, his mother handed him a small wrapped package. For the ride home. Inside was a photo album. Not of old memories, but new ones, pictures from their trip. There they were, grinning on the hiking trail. There was his father pretending to be attacked by a squirrel. And on the last page, a selfie of all three of them in the blanket fort, flashlight glow making their faces golden. At the bottom, his mother had written, "Our family, version 2.0. The boy ran his finger over the words, his throat tight. It wasn't perfect. It would never be what it once was. But maybe, just maybe, it could still be good. As they pulled away from the cabin, the boy in the back seat with his album, he realized something surprising. That little kid in the courtroom who'd been so afraid to speak up. He wasn't so little anymore. And he wasn't afraid anymore either. Epilogue. Back at school, when his teacher asked the class to write about their summer vacations, the boy didn't hesitate. His pencil flew across the paper, filling page after page. At the top, he wrote his title in bold letters. How My Family Learned to Be Brave Together. And for the first time in a long time, he couldn't wait to share his story.